Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to another episode here at Sobriety University. On this channel, we talk about addiction and recovery related topics. My name is Joel, and in this video, we're going to be talking about 3 signs something is becoming addictive. So the 3 signs are going to be 1, it's starting to affect relationships. 2, it's starting to affect health and mental well-being. And then 3, I just can't stop thinking about it. So before we begin, like, comment, subscribe, and let's begin. Number 1 is going to be starting to affect relationships. This one was one I ignored heavily back in my using days. I would so focus on myself. I was so selfish, so self-centered that the fact that what I was doing was harming other people was just like, I don't care. Like, I just need my fix. And so now today, I'm much more aware of that. And usually when I'm starting to notice that other people are, like a pattern is starting to play out, that's when it's like, okay, this thing that I'm doing might be becoming an addiction, and I want to address it right away. The importance of addressing it right away and why I wanted to make this video is because many times in the past I ignored these signs, and because of it, the addiction kind of just grew and grew and grew. And so now, being further along the journey, I know that if I can catch these signs early and I start to tackle it early, 1, it'll be much less painful to quit, and 2, much less people will get hurt, which is, again, going back into number 1. So my big addiction right now is internet and technology. So basically binge watching movies, binge watching YouTube, streaming services, which is kind of ironic, I know. This is a YouTube video. So this weekend I was hanging out with a friend and we're having a great time. I decided though to choose a movie over them. We had planned a movie and we were hanging out, again, having a great time, connecting really deeply, which is like kind of what I always wanted with quitting addiction in the first place, was to have deep relationships with people. And I was in it. And yet, even though I was in it, the mind's like, all right, man, we got this movie coming up. You got to make sure you can make it. And the other half of me was like, the sane part, probably the true self, was like, dude, no, you don't need to go to this movie. This is it. This is amazing. Let's continue this amazing interaction here. And of course, I'm like, okay, let's stop here. We got to get to this movie. And afterwards, once we were back at my place after the movie, they're like, I was having such a great time before the movie. I was like, oh man, you're kidding me. I should have trusted my gut in that moment, and instead I chose the addiction. And because of that, there were consequences. Now, is this going to be enough to end the relationship? I don't know. Potentially, I have to be okay with that and accept whatever consequences come. Yeah, maybe it was enough for them to say, wow, this person is really not wanting to actually spend time with me. They just want the movie. Who knows? My mind's obviously spinning out of control here. And as you can tell, I'm probably being a little too hard on myself, which is another thing that I'll probably make a video on eventually, is how not to be so hard on yourself. It's a pattern I see a lot with people in addiction, and I certainly see within myself. So saying that out loud, we're going to be gentle here for the rest of the video. And hey, we're going to move on, learn the lesson next time. And so that was a big sign that, okay, this thing is becoming an issue. And so because of that, today I went to some support groups, I talked about it, reached out to a friend about it, and really made sure that I'm understanding this and why I made the decision I did, how not to make it in the future. And then again, just to let myself off the hook, just not be so hard on myself and feel like the world has just ended. So that's number 1. Number 2 is going to be it's starting to affect health and mental well-being. So with addiction to internet and technology, the first thing that starts to go is sleep. So with movies and stuff, when I'm actually watching them, when I'm in a binge, I'm like, why would I go to bed at 11? I'm going to stay up as late as possible watching all these movies, all these shows. And I don't know about you guys, but I have a circadian rhythm that wakes me up all the time at 8 o'clock, pretty much no matter what. And because of that, even if I go to bed at 3 o'clock, I'm kind of up at 8 o'clock. And so I know that I cannot function well on less than 7.5 hours of sleep. I feel like drunk, feel like just moody. It's just exhausting. I don't want to be doing whatever I'm doing. And that is the first thing to go, and the first thing to get affected, basically, is just the sleep. Comment down below what are some of the things you notice that get affected once you start going into your addiction. Would love to know, and I'm sure other people would love to know too. Again, for me it's sleep, and again, like with weed and stuff, I would stay up all night smoking weed. Wouldn't get much sleep, wouldn't get quality sleep. When I was drinking, I'd be out till 3 a.m. partying. I'd have to get up and go to class. There was no way I was going to be freaking functioning at a high level. Now that was so early on in my using days that I couldn't be aware of it. However, now being much older, having gone through the ringer a few times, I really notice that when I don't have enough sleep, and that usually correlates to an addiction, because when I'm not in an addiction, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna go to bed when I'm tired. Like, obviously, it's just like common sense. So another thing that gets affected is nutrition. I know when I was smoking weed and when the munchies would start to kick in, the last thing I wanted to do was go eat a salad. So of course I would go to McDonald's. Of course I would go to Burger King and just eat copious amounts of fried food and sugar. And because of that, I would get a crash the next day and feel kind of miserable and depressed. And because of that, I want to go smoke weed more to feel better. Because of that, I get the munchies. And you guys can kind of get what's happening here. Just the cycle of dysfunction starts to build and build and build. And years go by, and exactly, it's crazy. So obviously the goal is to be on a positive path where one positive thing leads to another positive thing. And so that's a big sign that I'm in addiction, is when my nutrition starts to fail. Also, exercise and fitness too. When I'm not going to the gym very much, which hasn't happened in a long time. So when I was using heavily drugs and stuff, yeah, there's no way I was going to go to the gym. And a few years ago when I was really deep in my internet addiction, yeah, it'd be difficult to go to the gym sometimes. I'd rather just lay on my couch and watch a movie or a show or something. So that was a big sign that this thing was becoming an issue, when I was neglecting physical health. And I've talked about it before. Exercise is huge in getting clean and sober and just living a happy, healthy life. I have a video on that. We'll link it down below. And again, when that starts to fail, just another sign that it's time to make a change. So number 3 is going to be, I just can't stop thinking about it. And this is kind of a silent killer here, where it's not super obvious at first. There's not huge apparent consequences right away. However, you might have noticed that after a binge or after, I don't know, a big using cycle or whatever, and you look back and that shame, regret starts to come in, it's like, wow, like 3 days just went by like that. And I didn't get much done. And all I thought about was using, whether it be whatever addiction it is. With pot, for example, I'd wake up, take the rip. From the first second I opened my eyes in the morning, all I thought about was using. How am I going to get my next fix? How am I going to make sure I have my supply so when I run out, I'm going to have something left? Basically just in some way thinking about weed 24/7. With this internet stuff, after I have a binge, and my dopamine levels have just been fried because I've just been staring at a screen for so long. It's like, yeah, my mind just is like, okay, what are you gonna watch next? We gotta get another hit. We gotta get high again. And it's just like crazy, and just so much of my time is just fixated on that. And so that's a big sign that I'm in an addiction, is when I can't stop thinking about it. So guys, with that, that's gonna end the video. One-on-one coaching is available. Feel free to apply down below. I'll get in contact with you, and you and I can have a Zoom call to see if we'll be a good fit. Other than that, have a great one, and talk to you soon. Peace.